welcome back. It's November 20th, and we are almost at the end of our class with corporate cross-cultural communications. We are talking about multinational decision-making and negotiating details coming up. We've also talked about last week motivating people from around the world. And a lot of people are really curious about how to motivate people from around the world because each individual person is different. And so I want to focus a little bit of time on how to motivate you. The only person that is really going to motivate you is you, your own self. Please don't wait for a fun and handsome George Clooney or Matt Damon professor to impress you in a classroom. If you're lucky, it might happen, but I'm definitely not that. You need to create your own entertainment and create your own motivation. Most people leave work. Usually it's not because of the salary. It's not because of the paycheck. They leave work and there's unsatisfaction. They're not satisfied, and it's because of how they are thinking of their situation. Many people think it's because of my boss. I don't like the way that the boss is different than me. He's got a strange communication style. He's got a strange management style. And that's because they don't know it. They don't understand it. So I'm going to be asking Icharin and Siang Ha to talk about their experience. But again, before I do that, I want to remind everybody, when you are doing international communications, your biggest obstacle is SRC. SRC stands for yourself. You're relying on yourself. You are like 20 years old, and I'm a little bit older. And so for your whole life, you've been thinking in this way. But you forget that more than 7 billion people in the world have different thoughts and different ideas and different values. So what you think is normal and what you think is important could be very different than somebody else. And again, imagine one person's standing on a street, he looks down, he sees the letter 6. Well, the other person standing there, he looks down and he sees the exact same thing, but to him, it's a letter 9. So what you see could be completely different to somebody else. So you have to start by understanding, who are you? What is your Jung typology test? What is your Myers-Briggs typology indicator code? There's 16 different personality codes, aptitudes and abilities codes, communication codes, learning styles. They're all different. So after you understand who you are and what is your ability and what is your learning style and communication style, only after you understand you, then you will start to understand that other people could be different. There's many other styles of people. And so when you're communicating with them, there's at least 16 different types of ways of communicating. And so if you are in a rare communication style, like mine is a very rare type of communication style, then the other people won't appreciate it and you'll have difficulty. And you might blame that on the other person. You might blame that on the company sucks. You might blame that on my manager, or my boss sucks, or the teacher sucks. But that's not what it is at all. It's in your mind. You need to learn how to communicate. And it's not across cultures nationally. It's across your eyes, your ears. It's across your culture, because the culture in your head can be very different than the cultures in others. So Icharin and Icharin and Siang Ha, you have been studying this course and you just finished interacting as young students with somebody that is at the high level, almost the highest level of corporate experience. So let's share with the class, what did you guys say? Try to help everybody in class learn from what you did yesterday. Go ahead.
Based on yesterday's interview, we found that our research topic was quite broad, because we just say analyzing the HRM of Samsung, but only suggested to narrow down the range of topic. So we specify our field, like So we try to focus on compensation. And other thing is that Bonnie think we need to more analyze the characteristic of millennials. So we also try to focus on generation gap among employees.
And to add on to Xiang's opinion, I mean, yeah. So what we learned was that, so we really recommend you to get involved with those experts, because not only did we kind of got an answer for the questions that we have come up with, but we also could find out things that we couldn't get through the existing literatures that exist on the platforms. So through those conversational interview, we could really get a lot of information, not only for Samsung, but also other companies like Apple. So we really recommend you to get engaged in those interviews with those experts.
Okay, are you happy, Ms. Ha and Ms. Lee, with what you have just communicated? You're communicating to a group, I see 19 people in our Zoom session. You are communicating something. Are you happy with what you have finished communicating? Time's up. You're communicating the Japanese style right now, and I'm not Japanese. So, Hong Min, you're looking at me. You've got the glow of Jesus, a big glow, an aurora behind you. Maybe you're a god today. Can you help be God and translate to our class, what did Ms. Ha and Lee just teach you? And note, I don't want to hear what somebody's going to do, and I don't want to hear about what somebody did before. I want to hear what was the valuable message you got from these two ladies. Honest, make it easier. Are you able to comment, or do you want me to make it even easier?
I think I can comment very shortly. I think, in my opinion, the last words Xiang Cherin said was very impressive, because I think I wanted to ask either if I have a chance to ask to Samsung executives for related to my research, and she said, I think recommend you to engage to interview with her. So I think if I have a chance, I think I may interview with her.
Okay, so that's what you are going to do. And if I'm reading between the lines, the most important thing that you heard from them is you should contact company executives.
Okay, I think to get more clear message.
Okay, Eugene, your turn. What I actually asked Icharin and Xiangha was to summarize what did they talk about with an executive in Samsung. Can you tell me what did they talk about, or what did they learn?
Xiang says that after they have a meeting with executives, they decide to like narrow their topics, as Bonnie said, and like Chen said that meeting with executive is helpful because they can like learn some things in practice and receive advices. So that's what I heard from them.
So I've just asked 4 students now, what did you learn? And Miss Ha and Miss Lee, they told me, I did this. And Miss Lee actually said, I learned you should talk to executives. She didn't say what she learned from the executive, but she learned, she told everybody else you should talk to an executive. And Mr. Hong Min said the same thing. He repeated, and what you just did, you repeated what Ms. Ha said and what Ms. Lee said. Hey, Sohan, can you repeat what the question was? What was my question?
Your question was, what did they learn from meeting with executive?
Good. Is that different than what did you do or what did you talk about? Is there a difference between those sentences or questions?
I think their meeting discussion was same as, almost similar with Taelan, because they gave some advice and how to deal with their subject.
Okay, so you were talking about what they did. I'm trying to show my personality code. How do I identify what is my personality code? What is my ability code? What is my communication code? Do you know what that test is again? Each had in? What is the test that can tell me my ability or personality code?
Is it MBTI?
Yes, the Jung typology test. And so my code is INTJ. What that generally says is I'm very results focused. I don't usually chit chat about the weather or sports, things like that. So my question following my personality style was, what were the results? But what I heard from both of you is you had a picnic yesterday. It was a nice picnic. But I don't know what you ate. What kind of sandwich did you eat? Was it a good sandwich or a bad sandwich? Was it a ham sandwich or an egg sandwich? So again, my question was, what did you learn? Can you share those results with the other people? Now that it's 24 hours old, it might be a little bit different, but my point is, when you're communicating the content today, this example, it's just an example. Whatever you say, it's not right, it's not wrong. I am using this as an example. We have very good students in class that have done amazing things that are better than a regular class does. Regular class, you sit in a classroom, you listen to some boring guy going through, talking about a book. But you learn the book, and you learn more than the book by going through the internet and learning from the world's best research articles. And then you actually talk to one of the world's best executives. And so I'm trying to ask, what did you learn that you could share with Julian and me and Julian and Sungju Lee and Hazel Han and Sung Lee? What could you share that you learned so far? Is that a little bit easier? Can you take another crack at it, another try, Ms. Ha?
Do you want to go first, Xiang, or?
Oh, okay. So what I remember is that Bonnie talks about the differences between the elders and millennials. And in case of the old generation, the first priority is the opportunity, and second is compensation, then third one is benefits. But on the other hand, millennials, even though they also focus on their first priority is compensation, but the second one is work and life balance, and third one is benefits. So yeah, what I remember is that. So Bonnie recommend to us, we can maybe focus on this kind of difference. Yeah.
And also, he talked about the difference between Samsung and Apple. So in Apple, employees they are seeking experts. So they are just concentrating in one area for a decade or more than a decade. But in Samsung, it's usual to kind of rotate the positions for the employees. So they get more opportunity to experience diverse departments, maybe. So that was the major difference between Apple and Samsung. And that's what we learned from him.
Okay. Any questions about that yet? Would you guys like to hear what we actually talked about in the meeting with him today? I'm not going to show everything because we talked for more than an hour, but I'm going to try to show you some of these details. It's actually, can you guys hear it?
No.
No, bummer, it's not working. How's that? How can I make that work to you guys? You can see my screen now, right? So in this screen, if you go to our class core files, this is what it looks like, right? We have our class CCC, but I also gave you additional optional reference information. So inside here, there's a lot of extra journal articles. There's a book about the outliers, which is quite valuable. Lots of extra stuff. So here's information from the students. This conference call with Boninam and these two students from class today, that information, it's right here. So I took some notes. Hopefully you guys went through and appreciated some of those details. Actually, this is some of the notes from the meeting today. And then there is another one that's talking, oops, we got to go through student. Yes. So if we keep going through it, this is another recording from today, and this is the video. Sorry, not a video. This is the soundtrack. It was a phone call, and I tape recorded the phone call, so you guys can participate. You can listen to the lecture from the executive from Samsung. If anybody's interested, you can go in there and watch it on your own. It doesn't seem to be working well with Skype, with Zoom. But what else? Who else was able to go through and talk with some company executives so far? Our focus now is not just on motivating people from around the world. I want to hear what motivates you. Maybe Icharin and Xiangha will ask survey questions. What motivates you? I would like to hear that. And then we were talking about the idea of how can you make decisions? And then eventually we're going to be talking about negotiating globally. So let's start with motivating. What motivates you guys? And is it the same as what you think motivates me?
Opportunity, compensation, and benefits.
Okay, so can you guess and try to explain what you think that means? What we're talking about is a survey from 10 years ago. They surveyed many people that are in a company, and they asked the people, what motivates you? Why do you go to work? And so the answers was, I go in the past for opportunity to grow, opportunity to do something interesting. Number 2 was for compensation. Number 3 was for the benefits. And millennials, they say what? Eugenio, can you read what the millennials focus on?
Oh, yeah, the millennials focus, the first one is compensation, and the next one work-life balance, and the third is benefits lower than. And I think that it's quite different from the bold one that you marked as motivators, I think.
Do you agree this is what motivates you?
I think that it's quite different from my perspective, I think.
Okay, can you comment a little more about that?
If that text was saying that what motivates me, I think that in my personal opinion, that I think the benefit is like quite less than for me as opportunity, because I think that the most motivators for me is, I think that I can ensure that the benefit is not very much, I think, in my perspective.
Okay, it's somewhere in here. Where is it here? Yes, so this is basically the same thing. This is the meeting from today. It was the same executive. He was asked the exact same question that our good students asked yesterday. The students from a different class today asked the exact same thing. And so the answer was 10 years ago, Icharin, can you try to explain these details?
So the difference between the generations regarding the compensation structure?
Sure. Ultimately, maybe you want to know why. So why I'm asking you is we are studying how to communicate with other people, how to communicate across cultures. And it's not just a Korean person talking to an American or an Australian or a Swiss person. Every group of people that shares the same beliefs and same values, that is a culture. So inside Korea, there's several cultures. Most people in Korea are very similar. If you go to Canada, for example, there's almost no pure Canadian because Canada is a collection of cultures from everywhere around the world. And so when you're communicating with somebody with a different culture, a different value, a different set of beliefs, you need to know what motivates them and how they communicate. Going through the humanmetrics.com website to learn the Jung typology test or the MBTI, your code, that will help you communicate. If you communicate the same style as them, your style, not too important. If you want them to understand you, if you want to understand them, you need to try to get into their shoes, get into their thinking style. And so what you guys are focused on in your surveys, you could have asked anything you wanted. But one question both groups of students asked is what motivates people? How do you manage motivation? And this executive is giving you the same answer. He's saying it depends. Who you're motivating depends on who it is. So help me out, Ms. Ha and Ms. Lee. Anybody in class, help me out. Help me shut up and you guys try teaching something. What is the lesson here? What do you think is important or interesting here?
So the motivators for each individual is different because every person is different with their own cultural background, and also the age group is different. If you want to divide these motivators into two different groups of age, so like a generation of before, like a decade ago, and now the generation of millennials, the compensation or the motivators. So compensation is included as a factor of motivators. So what they want is actually different. So because the environment changes, I guess what people, so like what employees want for them to be motivated is different as well.
Do you guys believe this? One thing I want to teach you is that you are just as good and you have just as much potential and intelligence as almost anybody else on the planet. Don't let anybody tell you that I have a PhD, I'm better than you, or I have this job, I'm better than you. Baloney. You guys are should be on an equal level as anybody. And so I definitely respect Bonnie, but he was asked these questions without a lot of time to prepare. He's really busy. Several other executives in Samsung left the company, and now he has to do his job plus several other jobs for these other people. And so he didn't really have time to review details in advance. He's just coming up with answers like that. And when you listen to him, I don't think you heard any pauses for longer than 2 seconds. Think about that. They usually appreciate, being results focused. So what he said is about you. You are a millennial. Do you agree? Is that what motivates you? Sujong Lee. Sungju Lee. Is this what motivates you most? You will take a job because of good compensation. Number one, they pay well. Next, you'll take a job because of opportunities. What can Sungju Lee, can you comment about this?
Probably work-life balance.
So in your opinion, keep talking. Don't stop talking. You stop talking, I get a heart attack. I die. I'm the New York Minute. Chop, chop, chop. Class is almost finished. I'm half dead. Don't wait until I'm completely dead. So you say work-life balance. Is that number one? Anybody else in class? What else do you care about?
Compensation.
Next.
Work-life balance.
Okay.
Opportunities.
I worry you guys are just copying these other people. Forget these guys. Let's try doing this. Now, tell me, what do you want? If you're going to get a job, if I'm going to hire you to do a job, what will you accept to start working here?
Recognition.
Next.
Environment.
I don't understand what that means.
The environment of the company, like, is it, how much?
Do they have plastic? Or do they have bamboo forks? Are there plants
Maybe that is
there?
included.
Or is everything in
like-
dark blood red?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, how much service they provide, like rest room or.
Really?
Yeah, and
You will take a job with any place that gives you a toilet?
no, it's not toilet. I mean, that is included.
Okay, everybody, do you see what's happening? Sung Yeon Chae, she has something very clear in her mind. And to her, it's obvious. But I am not Korean. I am an old guy. She's young. And so to me, she's speaking in some ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, a different language. Environment to me means, I don't know, the deserts around Egypt and pyramid, or is it an ocean environment? Is it a beach environment? As soon as she said that, I started thinking beaches, just like the picture in my Zoom behind me. But to her, she had to clarify what it meant. And even after she clarified that, she helped her own communications the second time, I still think she was talking about toilets and bathrooms. So please use this experience. The words we're using is not that much important. It's not as important as how we are learning. And if we just sit there and watch, you're not going to learn as much as if you actually try talking. Even if you say pink uniform, or not pink uniform, pink unicorns or hippopotamus, you're going to get an experience and learn much more. So, Sung Yeon Chae, tell me to shut up and please keep explaining, what does environment mean to you? You want to go work for a company, not because of their toilets, because of what?
I saw the pictures of Disney company or Pixar, like they have some place to walk. I mean, take a walk outside of the company, have garden, have place to take a break. And even their desks are like free to, depending on them, like by the personalities, they can do whatever they want if it is helpful to the company or himself or herself.
So, good. I can hire Sung Yeon Chae because I'm going to pay her 5 cents a year to work for me, and she wants a place that has a nice break area. No problem. After you finish working in my closet, you can go outside in the back of my house. There's a nice garden. So will you work for me?
Nope.
Do you see? You just clarified it the third time, and it's still not speaking my language clearly. It sounds to me like you want something different. Hey, Solhan, can you describe what you think Sungyeon Che wants to be happy in a job? What kind of environment does she want?
I think she wants environment that pay about her work regularly, and could environment to work such as give a proper rest time or meal. I think we can consider them as environment too.
Is that closer to what you were asking for, Sungyeon Che? Still no?
Maybe what I meant about environment is like to improve the personal efficiency of work. I mean, what I said before, like these kind of things, like work areas, gardens, they might help them to improve their efficiency, work efficiency.
Something like that? You want gardens, relaxing zones, mental stimulation zones, innovation zones, something like that?
Yes, because like companies in Korea doesn't have places like that or services like that. So I don't think like working 10 hours is efficient in like the small in that small area. It's more efficient.
That's different.
I think it's more efficient to work in like this environment for like 7 hours. It's more efficient than like 10 hours in the companies in Korea.
I think your work time is completely different than environment. So thank you. This is a great example that we're talking about. What else? Icharin, you started the introductions with Bonnie. What motivates you?
I would say welfare. I think that kind of contains the factors that have been just talked about, but welfare could include like insurance and yeah, things like that.
When
And
I hear welfare,
family-
I think of either an unemployed bum on the street or an old person getting a senior citizen's home. To me, that's generally welfare. Is that your focus?
So I was kind of thinking of like stability
Stability?
that you get from work.
Now you're losing me. Okay, so this is just a project. Again, we're all focused on multinational decision making, how you make decisions. The one way you make decision is you need to understand what motivates other people. But do you remember how I started class? I started class saying that you can only manage other people, you can only really communicate with other people once you know who you are. And I think in our very first class, I asked you guys, say, okay, introduce yourself. And you basically said, okay, I'm a Korean student. And I said, I don't know what that means. And then you said, okay, I like kimbap and kimchi. Say, oh, I like spicy food. Oh, and I said, you're from Cuba or you're from Jamaica or you're from Thailand where they have hot food. Basically, I was showing you that how you understand yourself, those descriptors could be describing somebody completely different than you. You still don't know enough detail about who you are, and you're generalizing things that can very easily be misunderstood by somebody else. And so now we're finished through 12 weeks, and so we're trying to find out how can we decide things when we're interacting with other people. And we have, I don't know, 15, 19 people here today. I'm just trying to use an example of what motivates you. So we could talk about class. What would make you feel this class is perfect, but then you're going to lie to me and say, oh, Professor Watts, you're already amazing and you can't change anything. So let's pretend we're talking about a company job. Eugenio, your turn. What motivates you?
That when I am searching for like which field I work, that I think that honor, that this means that that I consider that how this field wants me, that how can I contribute to the specific field. So I think that, yeah, that's all my like motivation as a worker.
Is this correct? Can you see what I'm writing? Is that too small? You want me to make it bigger?
No, I think that's right.
Okay. Can we get another? Who have we not heard from yet today? Ladalachi,
Me, professors.
Go ahead.
I think the first factor motivating me is the salary. Of course, the money.
Let's take a look. Okay.
And the second thing, I also think the environment, but I mean like working environment, like the co-worker and yes, I think when the worker when the employee well with each other, we can support each other and have like good environment to work. And if have any conflict, it's kind of really difficult in like working. Yes.
Okay. Who else did? Thank you. Who else did we not hear from yet?
I didn't say my opinion.
Okay.
I think policy for employee is important because it includes how much they consider employees, and also it can be include how much employees can take their vacation or working hour or salary like that. So I think policy per step is important factor.
Is this correct, what I just wrote?
Yes.
Maybe I can make this a little bit bigger. Is that easier for you guys to read now? What else? Anything else that I missed yet?
I think development programs for employees also beneficial. Yeah, so opportunity to, yeah, so maybe develop myself through like career development systems.
In case of me, when if I'm choosing the company, I would consider job security.
I'm waiting for you to. Please, every single one of you, please have more confidence. You're very, very modest and you're very polite, but if you keep being modest, the world's going to step on you. You need to speak up in order to be noticed, in order to have your success. Go ahead.
I think less pressure between superiors in the department.
Okay, the exact opposite of what I just did. He said he's going to contribute, and I yelled at him, "Come on, hurry up, go, go, go!" The opposite of what I just did. Okay, let's try to now. You guys all have access to this. If somebody else wants to come in, great. What I would like to do now is maybe put your initials and put a number of your ranking. So for example, if you think your salary is most important, and it's my name, I put SW1. So that's my first one. And then if I think the environment is next, I can say SW, that's number 2. So can you guys help write that stuff here? Anybody want to tell me which one you are?
I think policy for staff, I want to rank first.
Which Policy for staff.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just being a secretary here. Let's hear from more people, but maybe is there anything that you need defined? Is there anything here that you don't understand? Like Sung-Yeon Che, she did a great job talking about environment. We had to put in many different words here just to describe this one detail. So what else may be confusing?
Professor, I have a question.
Yes?
I was wondering whether salary and compensation is different, because I thought salary is just one of the form of the compensation.
Compensation includes salary. So all of these things are part of total compensation. Compensation is everything usually you get. Salary is just one part. It could be your monthly paycheck, but you could also get paid with stock options. I have had jobs where they provided $1 million stock options if I stayed and kept working with the company. And the idea of benefits. Some benefits, you can get free lunch or free clothes, or you could stay at a hotel or discounts at company restaurants. Those are pretty easy to understand with benefits. There's also the health insurance benefit, access to fitness clubs, those are benefits. But there's also what you were talking about as far as an opportunity to learn new things. This is part of benefits. Some companies will pay your tuition if you learn something that's related to your job. Those type of things. So that's all part of compensation. Compensation is the big thing that includes compensation and many other things. Anything else you want clarified?
And also about the development programs for staff, does this mean that the opportunity to learn things that other than the original job that I take, right? Like such as the special programs for employees like that, right?
Special programs like, I don't know what you're trying to ask.
So I just want to clarify what is the development programs for staff means, like which activity this is.
Okay, who mentioned this? Would you like to clarify, whoever mentioned this?
Maybe as I say, the manager give the programs like to develop the employees' productivity or their skills.
Okay. Is that clear?
Yes.
Usually the biggest companies I know of, they have something like universities or something like university type of program inside the HR program. So they will have like a big library, and somebody in the HR, they will tell you that if you want to learn anything related to work, they will probably pay the fee, or at least they will pay part of the fee. So the more you learn about something for work-related things, the happier you are. But of course, the more you learn, the better you get at your job, so the company gets better. And so the good companies, best companies, usually pay for those type of things. But usually during interviews, millennial people don't ask those things. Usually during interviews, millennial people will say, I want to have good work-life balance. And so where is that? This one here? What the heck does that mean? And I want to, where's the other one? Contribute. These type of things. What do these things, a lot of millennials usually say these things. I want to make sure I can contribute, or I can make an impact. What does that mean? How can any job in the world, any company, how could Samsung give that to you? And for work-life balance, how could Samsung provide that? So these are usually what millennials ask for a lot. And policy for staff, this one, we don't usually hear about it too much. We need to maybe define that a little bit more. Anybody want to comment on these? What do you think everybody your age, all millennials, usually want?
I think work-life balance is what usually people want.
And so how can you put that into a work contract? If you're going to work for me, what do we need to write in the contract?
Maybe the company can say that they will ensure the time that, like the time they go home, so that employees can have their time for the self-development.
Okay, so again, you can work for me and I will make sure you have work-life balance. You work like 20 hours a day and you go home at night and you can develop yourself at night so that you don't die. It's a good work-life balance. You keep working for me and you stay alive. See how what you're saying and what I might be understanding could be completely different. So how can we make our contract better? And don't forget, nobody's going to hire you if it's not good for them. So you need to think in terms that are mutually beneficial, right? If you're not benefiting the company, they're not going to hire you. So how can we describe work-life balance in a way that will impress a company? I'm trying to help you communicate for job interviews. Or when you're talking to people like Boninam that could hire you, he has thousands and thousands of people he hires all the time. He's in charge of the people that do go out and hire people. So what do you need to say to him to impress him so that you feel happy with your contract with work-life balance? What's some wording that you can put into the contract?
I think negotiation is necessary. So you can't be really, so especially Koreans, I think they're passive in terms of contract and follow what the company wants for you to do. But if you are a competent individual, then I guess you have the right to negotiate what you want for the company in return for the work that you're giving to the company.
Xiangha, you look like you're paying very close attention. Can you tell me what she just meant? Can you tell me the same thing using different words? Because I heard she said, can't be Korean. We're not hiring any Koreans. No Korean. 한국 사람 싫어. You must be from Brazil or Argentina. I think she meant something else. Can't be what?
I think what she mentions is that usually Korean employee have passive manner when having negotiation, but whenever having negotiation with a company, we need to be more active.
Okay, so how is that related to your work contract? That's just talking about you, isn't it? Like I just gave, who is it? Was it Hong Min? I asked a question and he took, 4 seconds before he started to talk. And those 4 seconds were torture for me. So I was saying, go, 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 hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And my intention was to help him communicate more, get more experience. The more you worry about making a mistake, the more you lose the opportunity. The more opportunities you have, the more experience you get. The more experience you get, the better you get, the more success you get. So, but what I did was the opposite of what he likes. He likes less stressful environment. So with what you're talking about, work-life balance means negotiation. It's still not clear to me how you're going to work for Boninam. How are you going to work for Samsung? What will they put into the contract?
May I say my opinion?
Sure. And how about after this, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to hear if anybody in class wants to contribute your term paper. I'll give you points to that. But then I think it's going to be best if I put you into maybe 2 or 3 groups, and you guys have to maybe take a photo of this or copy this from the file that's online that we're already sharing. And you guys put these into order, or maybe change the order if you think something else we're missing. And so you rank. Go back to make this. So we had this before. Other people, old people, not millennials, older people say they want opportunities for career growth or career advancement. Next, they want compensation. Next, they want career growth. And then he says, millennials have new desires: compensation, opportunities, work-life balance. So do the same thing. What is number 1? What's number 2? What's a little bit less important? And what's the lowest importance? So after we talk, then you guys can share if you want points for class, then I'll put you in groups. Go ahead. Present what you were going to say.
Oh, I was just about to talk about the work-life balance. So if I'm an employee and if I'm going to make a contract with maybe Boninam, I would say that work-life balance is about restricting the working hours for both employees and the owners, because I believe high productivity doesn't necessarily mean the working full 8 or 10 hours a day, because with restricted hours, employees can be encouraged to get their work done efficiently and have more flexibility when it comes to personal life. But that doesn't mean that we do not have to allow the flexibility for overtime, because the overtime work or the work for the overtime is their personal decision. So it's not mandatory. So if they think they need to do more improvement for their work, the overtime is allowed. But basically, restricting the basic hours that employees work might be more beneficial for high productivity.
Okay, so what I hear now is that many years ago, when Korea was super poor, back in the 1950s, 60s, maybe even 70s, when you had a job, you had to go to the building and they would have a small little, you had to sign in. I came at, actually, right now, I don't know if any of you have been to the KC building, but as soon as you get to the KC building, you have to sign in. I came in at this time. That is the old-fashioned, really bad work type of time. And so they're recording when you're coming in to work. And usually when you leave, you also write when you leave. They thought as long as you spend 10 hours, 12 hours a day, that meant you were working well. But people have found that recording time has no connection to recording results. And what's much more important is just recording results. Some people can make more results in 10 minutes than some other worker that works 12 hours and gets nothing. And so obviously it's more important just to get the results. And so the advanced companies usually deleted that time card or that time system. But they've had it so long, for so many years in Korea, that the Korean companies still think it's normal to follow the time. They don't check when you're coming in or going, but there's just an assumption you have to be there before your boss. And the boss is going to be there before 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So he's going to be before 9 o'clock and he leaves after 5. And if you are under your boss, you have to arrive before your boss. So you have to be there at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. And in reality, in Samsung, a lot of people show up at work maybe at 6 a.m. if you're a new worker. But if you're just a manager, you show up at even 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, even though the workday starts at 9 o'clock. Same thing at home. The workday finishes at 5 o'clock, but the manager leaves at 5:30. And so your staff leaves at 6 or 7. And usually new employees for the best jobs, best positions, easily work more than 12 hours a day, especially if you want to get into the top consulting companies or investment banking companies. Does that make sense? So you were asking for flexible time or to work based on results. Is that what you're asking for? Anybody?
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm going to try to stop talking. Try, can't promise. And I'm going to put you into groups. But before you go into groups, for you to make this new schedule, you need to make a decision on what companies will use for hiring. So you're making your own contract for work now. And so you need to say, this is most important, and then this is worth less. And let's say, for example, you have 100 points. And if work-life balance is really crazy important for you, you can give that maybe 30 points and everything else, maybe 20 other things, just 5 points each. Something like that. Maybe compensation is also worth a lot. So compensation might be worth 20 points or 30 points. So that's worth half right there. So try to get into a group and make what is most important and how important is it. The next thing, before I go into groups, is there anybody that wants to negotiate your points right now? Anybody want to share with me topics about our class? We are talking about multinational decision making this week. We're also talking about last week our review. We're reviewing how to motivate you guys, how to motivate people around the world. And so far, I still don't know how to motivate you. Many of you don't have your video on. Many of you don't talk in class. If you don't talk in class, you obtain maybe 10% of the benefit of class. If you're actually talking and trying to teach somebody else something, if you're trying to explain something to somebody, that talking and action makes you learn 70%, not just 10%. And you will remember longer. So we can talk about that, decision making, we can talk about motivating, and next week we talk about negotiating. So if you have anything related to that, present it now, you get points. Or if you want to realize, where is it here? Have you guys seen this? Oops. Have you guys seen this? I think it's in here. Oops. Not here. Sorry, what I was trying to show you is that right now, you guys can get a lot of points by finishing your paper. If you actually show you have your introduction done, you can get a lot of points. If you show you have a couple of paragraphs in your introduction, you can get some points. If you have a part of your literature review finished, you can get several points for that. And you can get up to 50 points because the final 50 points for our class is 35 points for your written paper. Do not forget that what I understand is different than what you're trying to say, right? Who was the student that we were just talking about? Was it Sung Che? You definitely know that, right? You were saying something and I hear toilets, completely different than what you're talking about. So in our class, if you try to say your term paper, say your research results, and if I don't understand what you're saying, it's going to be really hard for me to give you good marks. So practice now. Tell me what you're trying to say and check what the class understands. Luckily, your grades don't just come from me. Your grades also come from the other classmates around you. So check they understand what you're trying to say. Because if you say something and I just hear you did research all semester, 15 weeks, and you found toilets, you're going to have a problem. So fix that by talking now. Anybody want to talk now? Hey, Sohan, is that your hand up? You want to say hi? or you just want to come join me on my beach here?
Oh, just I touch my monitor.
Okay, break time then. I mean, not break time. What do you call it? Breakout room time. Can we go through the group number one? What were the main results you guys found?
So for the top priorities, the first one was work-life balance, where we don't really want to work overtime until late at night and have a limit where we have to, finish our work by some point of time of the day. And the second priority was job security with stable salary. So we emphasized the importance of the financial aspect, where we think stable salary is important for our work. And for the least important factors, we said honor doesn't really matter. So for me, personally, I think recognition and honor is kind of different. So recognition is recognizing the work that you did, but honor is more like a respect towards a person. So we said honor is not that important. And also another team member said working environment does really matter in terms of the facility of the environment, the working environment, and the relation with the co-workers. And the last thing that wasn't really preferred by our team was contribution. So yeah, that's it for our group.
Okay, next group.
So we would like to share our group's opinion. So first, we put compensation in the first place because money is vital in our lives. And even though we're going to do the hobbies or enjoy the entertainment, we need money. And the second, we put the work-life balance as in the second place, also because we also do not want to have overtime in working. And third, we put policy and development programs for employees so that we have opportunity for our personal growth. And fourth is job security, because even though there are good welfare and recognition, if job security is not stable, if there's possibility to be fired, all of these does not matter. And fifth, we put recognition and contribution. We because it is important, because we thought recognition can be the motivation for employees to work harder. And the fifth one is the sixth one is the welfare, and then it comes environment, and the last one was the less pressure between superiors.
Okay, next group. Next group.
Our group just talked about, we didn't talk much, we just picked our priorities. First one is work-life balance, and second is job security, and third one is compensation. And other than that, we have welfare and environment.
What was the second one?
Job security.
So is this correct? Can you guys see my screen here? Let me see if, by the way, our class is up, so you can leave at any time, no problem. I'm just trying to help. I think a lot of you are really interested in this. So these are the results of what the notes I've taken. Hopefully this is correct. Try to think about how the company can give this to you. For example, many people say work-life balance, but there's basically no definition of that. By being more clear about your working hours, that is very clear and easy to manage. You can, it's easier to ask for flexible work time, or you don't even need to ask, as long as they have, you can check what is the HR policy. You can just call the HR department. You should never ask for pay or compensation or work-life balance during an interview. As soon as somebody that I am trying to interview asks for pay, usually I lose interest in them. If I want to hire them, if I'm impressed with those people, then I will ask them, what do you want if you were to work here? I don't say how much pay. I start by saying, what do you want? My best staff I've ever had, he was saying freedom, the ability to travel around sometimes, the ability to go out and see a friend sometimes. That type of thing, it changes from person to person. So be more specific with work-life balance. The other thing, job security. Are you serious? Really? Some of you guys are what, 18, 19, 20, 25-year-old maybe at the tops. So for you, a one-year job, a two-year job is like a whole lifetime job. So you're asking for something, but does that really impact you? And at the same time, are there any companies anywhere on the planet that has that? That does not exist. That is a marketing campaign that the Korean government told companies, the chaebol, 50 years ago to promote. So they said we had lifetime employment, same thing in Japan, but it doesn't exist. Anytime any company is going to have stress, they're going to lay people off. The safest you could be is usually if you're working for the government. The government jobs usually fire people the hardest. It's hardest to get fired there. It's hardest to get laid off. So for job security, it might help you to think in your mind, you are the company, not Samsung, not anybody else. Even if you work for Samsung, think that you are your own company. Always plan how you're going to grow your company. And understand that Samsung might be your first employee or the first customer, but you should have a backup plan. If that customer goes away, what's my next customer? That's why in class, I want you to develop your term paper. I don't really care about your term paper. I'm going to be generous with grades for anybody. As long as you show you understand and you participate in class, that's good. So make the term paper for giving you job security. Become a specialist and sell that, use that to get your job. Those are things to think of. So work-life balance, we talked about. Policies for development. Almost any company should be able to consider that, especially because it should be growing a company. And don't forget, a lot of people that start talking about this development, they are thinking in the old-fashioned way that, oh, I need time off to go to some school building and it takes 45 minutes to drive to the university campus. That also doesn't exist anymore. Some of my students have talked to me on a train. Some of them have been on a bus or driving or walking through a park or fishing or on a beach. You can now study online and you can get certificates, sometimes for free, studying at great programs, sometimes Harvard or name brand universities online nowadays for free. Start thinking about that. Don't forget, Bonnie Nam in Samsung, he was saying that Samsung gave him the opportunity to grow and develop. And so he was able to take Harvard courses online while he was working. And they paid for all of his tuition because it helps, it's related to work. So the idea of less stress with the boss, that idea of less stress with the boss, it's more an image, it's more an internal mental concept. You need to understand who you are and how you communicate. And that's the MBTI. And then you try to understand what are other people, and they will be different. So how can I match their style to communicate with them? As long as I'm speaking their style, as long as I'm speaking their words, what's important to them, we will have a happy relationship. But it's only when you don't understand the other style, that's when you have stress. So you need to learn about that Jung typology test, MBTI, www.humanmetrics.com, and that will start helping you.